This is Alex, you're watching the Rage and Rona Review, Transformers Reboot Edition. What the hell? Before I begin this episode, I'd like to thank all my subscribers. I'd like to give a big shout out to 5 subscribers in particular, and that is Xenomorph237, Stingray X5, Aaron777, Gunner, Headhunter D, and the Canuck67. Thanks guys, thanks for watching my videos, thanks for subscribing, and thank you for always leaving comments on my videos. We're gonna talk about the reboot again. I decided that if the reboot is going to be a War for Cybertron movie, it should be directed by Robert Zemeckis. If it is going to be a reboot that is taking place on Earth, it should be directed by Justin Lin. Why Robert Zemeckis? Okay, let me address the issues first. A lot of people are saying that I don't want it to look like Beowulf, I don't want it to look like the Polar Express or A Christmas Carol. Well, it wouldn't look like either of those because there are no humans in it. You know, our brains function very funny. We know that something is fake in movies like CG when it's not lit up properly, when light doesn't bounce off of it properly, and also when it moves. We know how humans move. So if you take out the comparison, like the reference, which is the human factor, then there's really nothing to compare it to. So in Cybertron, considering that there's going to be no humans in it, then it wouldn't look like A Christmas Carol or Beowulf. The only reason why I'm choosing Robert Zemeckis is because he's the pioneer of motion capture. I don't mean that they're actually going to use motion capture for humans, because once again, like I said, there are no humans. I meant that they're going to use motion capture for the robot movements. All the CG in the Michael Bay trilogy was done through animation. They spent a lot of time working on this to make it look as real as possible, lighting them up properly, and also just making sure that the animations and the movements are all very fluid. But it wasn't done through motion capture. So imagine if they really used motion capture, like with humans of course, but for the robots. It's just the reference material for how the robots would move. The animation for the robots would look a lot better. I'm not saying that they don't look good right now. They look amazing, but they can actually look even better than that. But that is only if they're making a War for Cybertron movie. On the other hand, if they were making a reboot on Earth, Justin Lin should direct it. You know, I already talked about the reasons why I want him to direct a reboot on Earth, but here's some more reasons. In Tokyo Drift, he actually gave the cars personality. You'd recognize the cars because of the way they look, the way the drivers were driving them, and just how they look on screen. That in itself is something worth noting. When I pick a director, I don't just pick them just because I like them. I pick a director because I look back at their previous work and try to visualize how they would direct specific scenes had they directed Transformers. Most notably, the car chases and the robot action. There are directors that I think are gods of directing, but I just think that they couldn't direct a Transformers movie. For example, I really like Zack Snyder, but imagine if he directed it, a lot of the action would be in very slow-mo. There would be all these slow-mo scenes, and the action would move just not very fast-paced. Now imagine if Christopher Nolan directed it. The movie would be focused on one protagonist and one antagonist, and then it'd be very emotionally driven. And it would go deep into the mind, the psyche of those two characters. So it's a very different style. The story would be totally different and maybe not quite what we would want to see for a Transformers movie. I like both directors. I think they're amazing. But if you look back at Christopher Nolan's work, every character is very conflicted. There are a lot of inner demons and it goes really into the mind of each character. So, do we really have to do that with Optimus Prime? Do we have to go deep into his mind that much? I mean, I'm not talking about Inception. I'm talking about like movies like The Prestige or Insomnia and Memento. Christopher Nolan directed these very psychological movies. Going back to who should direct Transformers, just because he did a good job in Dark Knight and Batman Begins doesn't mean he's right for the role of being the director of Transformers. Transformers is supposed to be a very visually driven movie, and we need a director who's very capable of directing high octane action. What I want to talk about now is why is Transformers being rebooted? A lot of people still don't think it's happening. Well, let me set it straight right now. It is happening. And it is happening because of Michael Bay. He's ending the trilogy that way. The third movie, at the end of it, it's gonna end with on a high note that you can't continue it. You have to reboot it. That's the way he wants it to end. And the reason why he wants to do that is because he wants Dark of the Moon and the whole trilogy to be his baby, and nobody can f with it. You know how you get a new director for a franchise to direct a sequel, and then it's not as good, and then the fans complain and says, oh my god, this new director ruined it. It ruined the first one. They ruined the franchise. Well, that can't happen anymore because the way Michael Bay is setting up the story, you cannot ruin it. The only thing you can do is start all over. In other words, rebooting it. I know everybody wants Michael Bay back, but he's not coming back, so deal with it. He's a director. There are other movies he wants to direct. He devoted 7 years to the Transformers trilogy, and it's time for him to move on. Another reason why Transformers is being rebooted is because of the cast. The main cast signed a 3-picture deal, which includes Shia LaBeouf, Megan Fox, and Peter Cullen. A lot of people are thinking, well, wait a minute, Megan Fox? Wait, hold on a second. That's right, I said Megan Fox. She was on the 3rd movie, but she was fired on set. So nobody really cares about her at this point. Shia is literally tired of this franchise. He doesn't want to be a part of the movie anymore. You can tell in the interviews that the movie is kind of getting to him at this point. He's just there to do his job. He's had enough of Transformers, especially Transformers with Michael Bay as the director. Michael Bay said it himself, Shia is getting really cranky at this point. Peter Cullen, on the other hand, I think he'll be back for more reprisals of voicing Optimus Prime. He is Optimus Prime. You can't replace him. But the only other person who can do Optimus Prime, or voice him rather, is Michael Clark Duncan, in my opinion. So without the original director and the main characters back, you can't continue on with the same movie. It is no longer a continuation. Anyways, someone said I should direct it. Actually, several of you guys said that I should direct it. I thought about that a lot, and I actually wrote out an entire story concept and ideas that I would have if I were to direct the Transformers reboot. Stay tuned in a couple of days. I think you might like what I have to say. This is Alex Yu, and thanks for watching the Rage and Roll Review. Peace. The next director is James Cameron, and the reason why is because he's the only director out there who can really make the sequel better than the original. For example, Alien.